Students, your topic for today is anti-defection law. So, the Rajiv Gandhi government, by the 52nd constitutional amendment in the year 1985, it introduced the anti-defection law in India. The term defection is derived from the Latin word defectio. This means to abandon a position or association, often to join an opposing group. So, the defection covers the change of party affiliation both from the opposition to the government side or vice versa, as long change as between the parties on the side of the house, that is between the different constituent units of coalition government, or between the different parties sitting on the opposition benches. So traditionally this phenomenon was known as floor crossing, which had its root in the British House of Commons, where the legislator could change his allegiance when he crossed the floor and moved from the side of the government to the side of the opposition, or vice versa, as the case may be. So the law of anti-defection states this, that a member of the Parliament Legislative Assembly, if he voluntarily gives up the membership of the party, or if he votes or abstains for voting, or defies any party whip, or if he joins any other party, in such kind of cases the member will be disqualified from the party, and he will not hold the position of a nominated or an elected individual under that party. Thus he will lose his position as an MP or an MLA. The exceptions for the anti-defection law are: first, the disqualification under the purview of anti-defection. It should not apply in cases of split or merger of one third or more of the members of a party to another party. It shall also not apply in the event of a merger, that is, one third of the members of a merge with any other party. This exception, where one third members, were however revised by the way of the 91st Amendment in the Constitution, and after which the provision of the split was removed, and now it requires two-third members of a party can merge with another party. This amendment that is revised these rules, as there were mass defections by legislators, and this amendment brought a change in the requirements from one third members of the party to two-third members, and by removing the provision of a split from the party. So the anti-defection provisions in the constitution. So the bill of anti-defection law was proposed by Rajiv Gandhi, and it was approved anonymously by both the houses, and it came into effect on 18th March 1985 after receiving the assent of the president. The anti-defection was added into the constitution by the way of 10th schedule of the constitution, by the 52nd amendment in the constitution in 1985. These provisions provide for the disqualification of member parliaments under article 102 subclause 2, and the member legislative assembly under article 191 subclause clause 2. Under these articles of the constitution, the legislators can be disqualified if they are disqualified under the 10th schedule. Now, advantages of anti-defection law. So the law that is related to defection, it ensures the stability in the government, since there are not shifts to party alliance. The purpose of anti-defection law is to prevent unsteadiness within the government governing the citizens. Defection is not only confined to India, but it is also rampant and prevalent in the countries having a parliamentary form of government. Anti-defection law provides for punitive measures against a member who defects from one party to another. Anti-defection law therefore seeks to provide safety measures to protect both the government and the opposition against the instability that arises due to defection and shift in party alliance. When a citizen is avoiding for a particular candidate, it is because of the personal agenda of the candidate as well as the political party's agenda or beliefs. A candidate is bound by the promises that are made by his party during the elections, and therefore he is expected to remain loyal to the party as well the citizens who are voting for him. Now, the disadvantages of anti defection law are by preventing parliamentarians from changing their alliance, it reduces the accountability of the government to the parliament and the people. It is restraining the basic freedom of speech and expression of the parliamentaries and the people. While it is agreed that the stability of the government is important, equally desirable is the accountability of the House, which consists of the members who in turn are accountable not only to their political parties but also to the electorate. That's all. Thank you.